Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa. On the mic today is my husband John,
Hi guys.
and we'd like to show you how you can easily paint this gorgeous ice tiger at home. He's a beautiful white tiger. He's very beginner friendly. To everyone who's showing up at our live today and to all of our regulars coming back, it's so good to see you. I missed you all week. I've been painting like a crazy person, and as you know, I kind of am a crazy person, and yes, I got some new hair, so we'll get that right out of the way. If you're brand new here, welcome. We really specialize in teaching people who've never painted before how to paint. If you're the person in your family who says, I can't draw a stick figure, or you're always talking about some other relative or person in your life who's creative, we actually are perfect for you. And believe it or not, you can be a lot more creative than you think, and you can get a much more beautiful painting than you ever imagined. We're going to explain this process step by step with multicam. And we use these zoomed in multicams and this process so that you can see every step of the process. Also, in the description below, besides the materials, because you know I like to hide them down there, there is a link to our webpage, TheArtSherpa.com. And on this project page, there is a reference of the painting that you can download and print out and a traceable, because sometimes when you paint, you may not be ready to draw yet, and no, that is not cheating. That is an art skill that they teach in art school. I'm ready to jump on in. Are you ready to jump on in, John?
I am.
Okay, so let's get in. Oh, so exciting. All right, he's so beautiful. I'm really into him. He's one of my favorite designs I've done lately. So I am personally excited to teach him today. I'm going to get my relax on. I'm going to get my zen on, because I think he's going to really get us into a beautiful state, well-being and relaxation. And you know how much fun dry brushing is. It's like the best. So I'm going to put him aside since John does have picture-in-picture. So I will be looking at him the whole time, but you know, I have a 9x12 surface here, and on here I have put with watercolor pencil kind of a wish or intention for the universe. It's where there is anger, let there be peace. Where there is pain, let there be healing. Where there is heartbreak, let there be love. Where darkness casts its shadows, let there be light. Peace, love, and prosperity. Hope for everyone's dreams. So that is what I'm wishing for you all today. I just felt like the tiger just would lend himself to this. Over here, we're working with acrylic paint today. I have the colors Mars Black, Titanium White, Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue. I'm also going to be using some yellow ochre and some Quinacridone Magenta. I mix up the brands of my professional paints. You don't just have to use one brand. I did include all these colors below, so you won't have to be guessing. I'm going to be using brushes that are good for doing dry brushing. Here's some examples. I have some brushes. You don't have to use all of these. I'm just showing you examples of brushes that you could use so you can pick from what you have at home. So these are boar bristles, hog bristles, mixed with synthetics. I've got a fan here. I've got them in different sizes. You could use different sizes, but you're going to want a flat or a bright so that you can get the nice wide strokes. Or you could use, if you have my Art Sherpa fan brush, you could use that. It's really good for dry brushing as well, and really good for fur as well. So lots of choices, lots of options, but what you want is something that's going to give you kind of a scratchy brush stroke. Also, I'm going to put in the background with this nice little 2-inch wide brush. It's not an expensive brush. It's not like a crazy fine art brush, but it is very effective. It has synthetic filaments in it that are firm enough for heavy body paint. I'm going to start out by getting this wet and sort of brushing my watercolor words into the canvas so that their positive energy hopefully will go out there. I know we can all use a little more positivity, peace, healing, hope, love, and prosperity in our lives, because the world is crazy.
I could use some more peace.
Well, we have 3 kids, so there's a limited amount of peace.
Peace.
We can expect. Peace is always good till there's one last ding dong. then it's gonna, all peace will be lost. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make one of my very favorite colors, which is phthalo turquoise. Now you can buy phthalo turquoise pre-made in a tube, but you can also make it. I'm taking my red handle plastic artist knife. Artist knives, if you've ever seen these, they don't have to be expensive, and they're really useful for mixing paint together, and they'll save you money in the long run because they'll prevent paint wastage. So it's something to think about if you're painting regularly. If you don't have one of these, you can just mix these together. Don't mix all of it, but you can mix these together with your brush if you don't have an artist knife. Don't panic and go, well, I don't have an artist knife, so I can't do this project. That's not how that works. Now I have this here just in case I run out of this too soon, so I can make some more. And I'm also going to want a little bit of this blue for his eye at the end. So those things are put aside. Now I'm going to show you how I load this up and get our awesome streaky background. So I'm going to take this brush, and you can see I'm dipping it in the water. Now hopefully this can catch that. Oh, there it is. You'll notice I'm not submerging the whole brush. People like to submerge the whole brush. Only do that when you're vigorously washing out your paint. Right now, you're going to want to take about half of your brush into the water, dragging off the extra because you don't want it to be too soaked. You want it to be ready to kind of come off, but not be too soaked. You're going to notice that I'm getting a little bit of the white onto my brush. See, I just sort of got a lot of that blue put on both sides and a little bit of white.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I go like this, look at this.
Man,
I get a streaking effect.
See, I thought you were going to go from the top down.
I like to throw my husband on occasion by changing it up.
Just mix it up on me.
Yeah.
Here I am trying to get cameras set up for you, and
just that's a little guilt bomb on a Saturday. Okay, I'm gonna load my brush back up on both sides.
What else can I do if not heckle you live on your own show?
I just don't. You know what? You deserve to. So you do a lot. If you want to heckle, you can heckle. So I've got the brush loaded both sides. I'm going to get a little bit of my white paint, and then I'm going to come get a little bit. And you're going to see that I'm not trying to, mix it thoroughly. I'm trying to load it up loosely mixed. And I'm going to just keep coming here, brushing back and forth, and this is going to give me a beautiful streaking. Right? If you want to just come all blue, you can come all blue.
And this is really about not mixing it on the brush.
That is exactly what it's about. Or on the canvas so if you brush and brush and brush and brush over this, you're going to be mixing it on the canvas as well.
Now, can I ask if this is the appropriate place to use a word overworked?
Overworked is a great place for this technique.
Okay.
So, but guess what? This is acrylic. So even in acrylic, if you overwork it, you can just paint another layer over the top and still get a good result. Now I'm going to come and get just a little bit of my white again through here and just make sure that I've got some visible, like little textural streaks. Not too much because he needs to show pop in a sense over the background surface. And if this is too light, he won't. It's a contrast issue, something that I, as an artist, have to personally be more mindful of. We all have things that we have to be more mindful of. You can see I'm just making sure the streaks are there, but that they have a beautiful sort of vertical up and down presence. And then where I get them too strong, you can see I can just blend those out. So as soon as you have it where you're like, oh, that's really pretty and decorative and interesting, right? There we go. And looks gorgeous. Making sure that's good. Now this is all going to be under the tiger, so we really just need it for its depth to help us create our shading. Rinse out your acrylic brushes. If you're brand new to painting, you might not know this. You don't want to leave your brushes in water, and you want to rinse them out thoroughly and lay them flat after each painting session. Be sure to wash them out with soap and water and lay them to dry flat. It will extend the life of your brushes like a lot. Like a lot. All right, I'm going to dry this because for the next stage, it kind of has to be dry. Otherwise, I'm going to have a big messy mess.
So yeah, as she was saying, it's important to dry your canvas or your surface or your piece of whatever it is you're painting on, but to dry it thoroughly between layers because you can, especially if you're going to paint light colors over dark colors, you can pick them up and it can muddy the next layer. So you can get nice crisp colors in between layers. It's good to dry them all the way thoroughly, and make sure to use low heat, no heat if you can. The reason is that heat introduces color shift and can cause shrinkage and other problems, especially in student paint. Not so much your pro paints, but your student paints it can, so be real careful there. And heat. Paint it's acrylic, so it's susceptible to heat. Yeah. Susceptible.
Well, temperature in general. Acrylic paint is very susceptible to temperature. Often art materials are.
Now, since
Many art materials are.
Since you're sipping, I'm going to ask you a question here. There was a lot of questions on why you choose to do half a face here for the student paints instead of doing a full face.
Well, for beginning artists, the other eye is their ultimate nemesis.
Symmetry is hard.
Symmetry be real hard, and I do have videos on how to get the other eye. There's a whole bunch of tricks, but if you're really starting out, and if you're brand new here and you've just got through the background and you're going, that is much harder than I expected, pat yourself on the back, because learning a new skill like riding a bike or surfing, how hard would it be to learn surfing right now if you didn't surf? Challenging. Or ice skating if you didn't ice skate. Takes a minute, so give yourself some slack. But what I find when I'm working with beginners is that there are things that I can do where you can get a beautiful design. It's gorgeous, it's graphic, it's interesting. But by making little editing decisions like taking away the second eye, it makes it much more accessible and raises your success rates, which is really the goal. Because my whole purpose in life is to get y'all addicted to painting and creative. I just love doing that. So.
And this really is a really cool painting that I think anybody can do, even little brushes, which is what I was excited
This is little brush friendly. And to that end,
all right,
I have what we call a traceable here. Now, it's provided on the website and you can print it out. I do suggest enlarging it on the page so it's really filling it up, because your printer is probably 8.5 by 11 and these canvases are 9 by 12. So there's a little bit of size difference there. The big part of the traceable that you really got to have worked out, though, is the nose and the eye. Now, I like to take mine and transfer them to tracing paper, which is transparent paper here. And then I like to use Ceril paper, which is a special transfer paper for art on the back. If you're brand new and you don't have it, because why would you have it if you're brand new? You wouldn't. Go ahead and just take some kids' chalk or a pencil and rub it all over the back of the paper, and it will give you a one-time similar effect. This is just nice if I'm doing it over and over and over and over and over again. So I always like to tape my designs down. And the reason for that is that when you're doing a tracing of an image, if they move, it creates almost like a glitch. So stabilizing what you're working on will really help you get a better final result. And don't ever, like, if people are like, well, if you traced it, it's cheating. I'm like, no, right then that they didn't go to art school. Because this is just a skill set that you use as an artist. If you're walking up to a sheet of paper that was $60, and yes, they can be, you do not want to be experimenting with how that sketch is going to work out. You want to work that out on an inexpensive piece of paper and transfer it onto your good paper. Same with canvases and other art products. So I'm just sharpening here so I have a nicer edge. So now I gave you guys every stripe because I recognize if you're really, really new to art, stripes themselves or shapes and positioning might be hard. I'm not going to worry about those so much. I'm going to just get my big features worked out. So I'm going to come here to his gorgeous, gorgeous nose and get that in. And probably his bigger overall lines. But if you're really, really new, go ahead and, make sure you've got all the details in.
Now, I'm curious here.
Yes.
Let's say that you went to a school that had a wonderful tiger mascot, but their colors were, say, orange or yellow or green or fuchsia or
just any other colors at all.
It was maybe they had a weird puce day, and so if you wanted to, could you say color the background in a different color, maybe do the eye matching?
So if you're going to change the color, my suggestion to you is this: paint it as I have it at least one time, so you understand the techniques and you succeed at those.
Yeah.
And then absolutely, change it up to any colors, because it's really the techniques here that you're learning. And then once you get those down, you guys are going to more than be able to make it your own and change it up.
Yeah, that makes sense. You probably should follow the recipe at least once before you mix it up.
Yes, follow a recipe a little bit before you change it, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't ever try to change a recipe or think about, how those things will be.
That's true.
So I'm going to show you a couple here so you can see how you could easily, tell yourself some of where these little stripes are. Why that's kind of helpful to you, but I'm not going to really need them. But when I take this off, you'll be like, oh, that really works. A link to this product is in the description below, and it is something that I personally do rather enjoy having around. Makes my life easier. Now, dry brushing. is really about making sure your brush is not too wet and that you don't have an overload of paint on there. If you're painting craft paints, I highly recommend that you really keep the brush dry and you lighten your pressure a bit and take off a little bit of the paint before applying it to the canvas. And by the way, it's okay if you're painting apple barrel. Don't be like, oh, I'm not painting pro paint. That's totally fine. You just remember that that's just self-leveling paint. Acrylics come in bodies. It's just a self-leveling paint. So don't ever be worried about that. Now I'm going to take this number 8 Cambridge, which is the hog bristle brush, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to start out by loading up some white. You notice I didn't get it wet at all. And I'm going to add a little black to that mix. Not a lot. I'm not trying to make a dark color. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to, as you can see, just brush this out. Now, if you look at my brush stroke, there's some things you're going to notice that help make the fur. Besides the fact that the brush is intrinsically dry, right, which gives it that little fur effect, and the brush is stiff and scratchy, which helps, there's a little bit of a curve. Can you guys see the curve?
I think I can. Yes, you definitely can see that you're throwing a little curve in that brush stroke.
Right, and then when I'm going to come around the ear, I'm going to curve back. See, I'm curving back. Mm-hmm. This also helps create that sense of fur. Sometimes when we see things like hair or fur, we feel like we've got to paint. When we look at it and we're new to painting and we think, how would I make that? You might mistakenly think that what you really got to do there is paint every single hair. But that's not actually how we paint hair or fur. Now, as I come here, I'm going to do kind of a bigger curve brush stroke, right? And I really let it get light and edgy here. Hopefully John is really up on it so you can kind of see how textural it is. I'm allowing it to really show the canvas underneath.
I'm trying to mix up the shots so they can see how it looks like up close and as you pull away from it, because
those two things are important components of what you've got going on.
Yeah.
Now in the ear, I'm going to come up to the ear, babe. I'm going to load up a lot more black. And I'm putting this dark value in now because I really want to layer the fur. And its layer is going to be the best if I put it in now. Sometimes knowing about painting, I just grab some more kind of heavier black, as you can see. And I'm, again, still using that dry brush stroke, though, to work that out. If you rinse out, especially if you're using any kind of hog brush, the issue is that the hair, the bristles will completely absorb a ton of water and soften and get mushy. That's why I like a mix of synthetic and hog bristle. But if you just have hog, you're going to have to really dry it out or get a couple hog brushes. I'm going to continue with this all around the face and things. I also have to make sure that I have put a bit of this like dark here and then a dark line. So it's going to be really about some strategies about when I paint what area. And that's sometimes what you get out of a tutorial is like, oh, this is the time I paint this. So right now, and let me move this upside down so you can see it easier. Always move your canvas to the comfort of your body. Don't move your body to be convenient to your canvas.
Now, wouldn't it be easier if you just painted that whole area over there white?
No, because I would lose all of the texture.
The texture?
Yeah, and I want that texture. Now I'm going to get some black. And I'm going to come right here.
When you say texture, you mean the color that's coming through from the painting below.
Yeah, you want those values. You do. You really want them.
They help create the outline contrast for the hairs.
Yeah, they do. I want to come here and put a whole row of black, guys. Still dry brushing. But I need that right there.
Some folks were wondering, why wouldn't you paint that white first?
Well, it would just be white, and you wouldn't see all the layers and texture.
Yeah, so that's real important.
You'd lose a lot. So sometimes it's about just knowing what you would get. Too much water, you just wipe it off with a towel or paper towel. Again, this is our first layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to just make sure that I'm starting to put in that layer, that first layer. Get a little more white because my fur is getting a little dark. There we go. And see how it's like we're layering each kind of layer in front of it, kind of so that they're blending into each other. That's going to really help us. I'm going to come around here. I'm not going to get into the nose too much yet because I'm going to change some things when I get into the nose. I'm going to come here. Now under the eye, I'm going to come around here, around this eye. And then you're going to see that I changed my brush stroke direction. And that's going to help me see the fur. See this, like, so I curve here. And then at the back of the eye, I kind of curve upwards. Down here, I'm going to curve back.
So I'm super excited about the chat out here.
Are you having a good time?
There's a bunch of people who are saying that they're very excited about seeing this painting and they're going to try it.
I am so glad you're going to give it a go. If you're, again, and remember, if you've never painted before, it's very important to be very forgiving and easy with yourself. Now, right through here, you can see how my brush is loaded. I'm going to just very lightly brush this. I want to be able to layer it my nose a bit, and so I'm going to keep that brush light. I curve it back up, so this is curved this way, but when I come here, it's curved that way. I know that seems like it's a lot going on, and that's why I rated this 2 hoot. If you're not familiar with our rating system, we try to rate. I try to guess the difficulty, and then on our website, we let the community come back and like argue with it, kind of like say, no, it was a 1 hoot, or no, it was a 3 hoot. So between those two things, as a new artist, it should give you a good expectation of how challenging something is. And really, with challenging, what I would say is how many techniques you need and how much time it might take you. But not that it's not possible for you to do. Because if you just follow along and do the layers I'm doing, you're going to end up with a white tiger and stripes. I mean, that's the result. You won't get like a panda unless you paint a panda. Don't prove me wrong. So here at the nose, I'm going to come down and I'm going to be real careful. I'm going to do a cool thing. I'm going to just see how I'm kind of using the edge, the toe of this brush. And I'm making that little fur come right over that little space where his little mouth is. Where his little smile is. And then under the nose, I'm going to come like this. I'm making sure that's nice and white there. Load up some more paint. Well, we're going to be through this pretty quickly.
It's actually really great. You're cruising right along. You're at 22 minutes, 22 seconds.
Wow. Now I'm going to go ahead at this time and put out my yellow ochre. I really don't expect us to be even more than an hour on this lesson at all, even if we're just like really just kind of puttering. So it should be very good, you know, if you're familiar with painting parties, for that kind of experience. So I'm going to add a little, this is called yellow ochre. I'm going to take a little of this yellow and I'm going to put it into my black. And you're going to see that it makes kind of like this warm gray. And then I'm going to come back into my white. Now under my nose, I'm going to go ahead and add just a smidge of that right here. But really where I'm going to get big into it is up the nose. Up his nose. I'm going to come
That's
here.
A tiger. You got to be careful about being around tigers' noses.
I would be super careful about being anywhere near a tiger.
That's near the very dangerous
pointy,
pointy,
that's the danger
part.
zone.
Yeah,
your
that's
cute face is still the danger zone.
Definitely like.
So I'm making short little strokes as I'm coming up here. Can you see how I'm doing dash, 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 dash? And I'm also trying to talk about the direction of the fur as I do that. And this gives me my first layer that I've got to do. Now, to get the next part in my stripes, which is a good time to do this, I'm going to pick a smaller brush. Now, I could do it all with my brush, but I want to be able to do some very fussy things. So this is a much smaller scratchy brush. If you don't have a smaller brush, you could use the corner of your brush, and I'll show you both ways. So if I'm doing the bigger brush, I'm going to just use this. I'm going to get some black. And let's come right here, and I'll show you just the corner. See how I'm doing?
I see how you're doing.
I'm making a little black spot right there. But if you're new to painting, sometimes working a whole painting with a bigger brush can be challenging. So I'd like to suggest that when it feels like it might be, go ahead and downsize. So there's another little stripe right here. So let's make that little stripe right here. It comes up. And what I find with animal stripes is that they have interesting breaks and ups and downs. And if you're trying to make a tiger stripe, a zebra stripe, any animal pattern, that's important to keep in mind if you want it to feel realistic. Sometimes we paint the symbol of stripes, like in the sense like Tony the Tiger was, instead of animal stripes as they are in nature. That's really good. See how I did in that little break? Those little touches can be important. Now right here, I'm going to do a small little stripe. It's going to kind of barely show. Right? And then maybe even up here, just another little spot of the fur that's like that. So see how we're just keeping it minimal there?
Yeah.
Coming around here. I love all the stripes. They're like my fave. So there's a cool little curved kind of back stripe there. And then let's give him, I don't know, another little one here and a dot. I always like to bring some stuff down. So coming down, then go in, and then maybe a little bit out. And this little stripe will curve around this little face. It's going to end up resulting here. I go up and then back. See, very stripy. Very stripy. How stripy is your stripes? Now, this can have one that kind of curves underneath it. All tigers have different stripes. Very different. I think they're like fingerprints for them. I'm going to add a little bit of stripe right here. Definitely one that goes under the eye, right? Just stripe right under his eye right there. Maybe another little kind of thin stripe in there. And then maybe one right here. So we're striping him in. Striping a tiger. Super fun stuff, guys. Now at the mouth, I'm going to darken some of that little fur so that, you know, we're seeing the mouth. And I'm going to come underneath the nose and definitely darken that. I'm going to come under here and I'm going to paint this area dark, like you do. And a little bit of this will come up and we'll trim that in with our fur. And then it's important to remember the top of the nose needs to be this black fur. Whether you're doing an orange tiger or white tiger, the patterning of the fur, whether you're doing a rainbow tiger, will be essentially the same. I'm going to rinse out and dry off. I've got the little whisker rows. And what I'm going to say is we're going to go short line, longer line, short line. So we come here, it's going to curve like this, curve like that. This is the shorter line. Just dashing down. Right? Just dashing down. And then this one can be a longer line. I need a little more paint. See how we're getting it? A little longer line. And then maybe another little shorter line that comes back here a bit. And then finally, the little framing stripe that's going to come right here. We're going to just enjoy. And what's great is when we layer the fur over these stripes, really cool stuff is going to happen. Now, just to take care of it right now, I'm going to come in and make sure I've started to put in my eye. I'm going to do all my detail work with a different brush, but I can get this in now so that as I add the fur, it's how I need it to be. Already, he's going to feel fairly stripy. He's going to feel fairly good. You can take this time if you want and touch anything up. I'm going to get back into my bigger brush and fur it up, if it's okay. Because I'm going to sip some coffee.
I'm all about it.
Let's take a deep breath and stretch our necks because we're really concentrating.
You really are. I'm being pretty mellow drinking coffee and watching you paint. So, I mean, totally different experience over here.
Now let's make our magic. Let's make some tiger magic. All right. So we're going to take our furthest edge out and kind of come in, and that is because it'll create some nice layering effects. So I'm going to get some of my pure white. I haven't added any gray to it. And get it kind of on my brush. There we go. And I'll come to this outer edge here. And you can see how the gray underneath helps that pop. Now right here at the ear, I do a very important thing. I come below this spot. I'm going to come up. I'm curving up. I'm working the outer edge. Here, the little inner fur here. Let's take this fur and make sure we cover a little bit over his ear.
This is really illustrating why the layering of these colors is so important.
It helps us. It creates our dynamic space.
And this is also why if you do this painting once first, then you can kind of get a hang of how these layers work over the different, like, why did you do the black layer now instead of at the very end?
Yeah, and that's always, like, if you want to do a lesson and change up the colors, that doesn't ever upset me, guys. Just, I love it when you try the lesson first so you get the techniques down and then play. So you don't put yourself in a frustrated situation.
I mean, you could use hot pink stripes if you understood, like, how the painting
I could do him
together.
all neon. I could do him all Lisa Frank.
That'd be kind of cool.
And a bunch of you just went, wait, can we have a Lisa Frank tiger?
Can we bejewel him?
Yeah, I could.
That would be
all
kind of cool.
glitter. You give you all Lisa Frank.
Ooh,
there's really no
background.
end to what I can do here, guys.
Okay, we lost some people, but some other people just went, oh, yeah.
Some people didn't know Lisa Frank?
No, I'm sure that they were just like, oh, when I said glitter, it's a divided thing.
Glitter is a dirty word for a lot of people.
I mean,
I don't agree with it, but then, you know.
It can be.
I guess I'm freedom of crafting.
Free to let your glitter go.
I'm free. I let each person glitter as they see fit to glitter themselves. I don't want to stand up and tell another person how to glitter.
How do you feel about the involuntary glittering of others?
I may have been guilty about involuntarily glittering your mother a lot.
Well,
which may be why we struggle sometimes now. Because I made sure everything I sent her was always loaded with glitter. So when you open the envelope, it goes... Mistakes of youth. Okay, so I'm going to continue. I don't do it now. I recognize how hard it is to clean it up out of places now. I just was in a space where it was inconceivable to me that you wouldn't want glitter all over your house.
But the layers.
So I'm going to keep coming through here.
The layers.
Layering, and you can see that I am constantly trying to make sure that these are nicely layered. Now, let's come back up here to the top because some of this we've got to do with our yellow ochre in a minute.
Why would you put yellow ochre?
Because their fur has that. I just looked at pictures of white tigers. I literally was looking at pictures of white tigers when I decided how to make this. I am like that. I don't cartoon it out of my head. I have to work from references. So, and those references influence all my decisions. I can promise you that. You know. By the way, there's nothing wrong with drawing straight from your own head and cartooning, by the way. There's some real shade, I guess, going around the internet about cartooning. And I would say realism and cartooning are words that describe outcomes and process and technique, not the value or validity of an art piece.
Internet's big.
Internet's big. And if you like realism, cool. If you like, more graphic poppy designs, cool. If you like ball joint dolls, cool. If you like abstract, cool. I'm going to come right here with some white and come around here. So that's an important thing to realize is that it's art really is in the eye of the beholder, but all those words that we use around art are only to talk about what happened here, not to say something is good or something is bad. I want to share something with John, though. I meant to share with you earlier. I'm going to keep coming through here with this white. And then I'm going to just say this to you because you're going to love this. Did you know Grandma Moses and Norman Rockwell were good friends?
I did not.
They were. They were good friends, respected each other in the art world quite a good deal. And if you haven't heard of them, Google them both. Norman Rockwell and Grandma Moses. For those of you who've taken up painting later in life, you want to make her your champion.
Talk about an insider and an outsider.
Yes, insider and outsider art, being best friends. See? Totally cool. All right, I'm going to come right here with this white, and I'm filling this in. Are you seeing how I'm kind of layering over these spots so that the fur layers over each stripe? Are you catching that?
I am.
I'm going to come underneath the eye is still pretty light, so I'm going to come here with this. I like this one. That's a very important layer. Now, I'm going to come back again one more time, adding just a little more white right here, and I'm going to come right there. And then this is the last, just white, 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 white. Because now I'm going to start working my yellow ochre. So I'm going to get a little of my yellow ochre, boom, 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 working it into the brush, see how you do.
And that provides like some depth of texture and color.
It gives those little subtle differences that can make a painting more exciting to our eye. You can't really put your finger on why you like it better, but it's why. I'm going to add a lot of white to the paint because I want this to be kind of a lighter color than what I've already put down. And again, I'm going to talk about...
It's very subtle.
I'm going to come right here and just make sure that there's a nice little furry edge there. Short fur. It's a subtle difference, but it's going to make a big difference to the overall composition of the painting. And that would be where sometimes I maybe challenge my students a little bit more, is to show them some artistic processes they wouldn't normally be introduced to, but only because I know you can do it and I know you'll benefit from it. All right, so coming up here, and I'm going to just keep brushing, 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 brushing. All right, brushing, 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 brushing. Hopefully a bunch of people discover Grandma Moses today. And Norman Rockwell if you haven't. If you're a younger person and you don't know who Norman Rockwell is, pretty awesome sauce. I'm going to keep coming up, brushing, brushing, brushing into that white fur area. Look at how that does. It's just a subtle little change, isn't it?
It is. I didn't really catch it at first, but it really makes that other fur just super pop.
It does, and it gives some extra oomph to what you're making. Just because you're a new painter doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of and have fun with many art processes. You know, we only made these art processes because they're fun. Artists don't do stuff because it's not fun. We do it because it's fun. You watch Andy Goldsworthy crawl through hedges. He does it because it's fun. It may be fine art, but it's also super fun. Clearly. My kids and I had the best time watching him do that. All right, so I go through here, and you can see I'm just coming between these little spots. All right.
You know what one of my favorite things is?
And then right along his little lip, making sure it's fuzzy. What's one of your favorite little things?
Is that my old trapper keeper art is now high art.
No, I think that many of the originals that Lisa Frank did are in storage in her studio. She doesn't let the originals go often, I don't believe. And I know she took a big hit with Candy, that makeup crowdfunder, which I was really bummed to find that out. But, you know, I think we'll be talking about her later.
She's awesome.
She's awesome is a correct sentence. So see how he's just kind of gorgeous and fluffy? Now this is a great time to get some more white. And if you have, I'm wiping out my brush. If you have any places where you're like, man, he needs some more fluff, you can be like, oh, have some more fluff at your ears, little fellow. Anywhere you want him to have more fluff, you can do that. Look at that. There's no end to how you can play.
See.
Now, for everything else, I'm going to switch to a round brush because I think I will get the best result from it, in my opinion.
You could be super fun and hide a dragon in his fur.
I could, did I?
No.
Okay. Sometimes that happens to me, like accidentally.
Then he would be a crouching tiger with a hidden dragon. I'm just saying he could be.
Yeah. You do you. All right. Let's do his delicious little nose.
What you doing?
I'm going to take a little bit. This is a number 4 round. This is from the Art Sherpa line. It's number 4. I'm going to dip my brush in water. I'm going to come over here and add some of my Quinacridone Magenta. All right, so this is just really fun, just kind of making a warmed up little pink. And we're going to come above his little nose here. And we're going to paint that all in. When you see me dipping in water and swirling around, what am I doing? I'm improving the flow of my paint. So I dip the tip of the brush in the water, and I come in here and I swirl around, and you see me go wipe off. I'm thinning the paint so it flows off my brush easier. All right. There we go. Painting his little tigery nose in. Now I like to get some just pink and a little white. Maybe, and I'm going to come right here. I'm going to paint half the nose with that. Half the nose. And then I've got my with yellow, and I'm going to add a bunch of white to that, which lightens it. And I'm going to paint the top half of his nose with that lighter color. Look at that. This gives some dimensionality to it. If you need more white in it, you can always get more white. But what you're basically doing is some shading. If I want to blend it, I'm going to wipe all the paint out of my paint and water on my brush, and I can just come here softly and make sure that the ends are blended a little bit better. And I may need to dry it. Do you see how the blue is coming up?
Yeah.
Here's how I fix that. Dry.
Dry, 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 dry. She's drying it. Then she's doing that, so she's back.
So that is, and can happen to any paint. It's binding, so I was just working the wet over the wet, and it wasn't getting a chance to bind. But you can see now, perfectly goes right over it. Look at that.
Yeah.
If ever you get challenged by a difficulty like that, really stop, examine, and ask, is the paint dry? Is it thin? Is it just that it's transparent? Don't panic. Don't assume it's you. Probably at this stage, even though you assume that you're all the things that could go wrong in your painting, you're actually probably not. None of you is probably what's wrong in your painting. Oftentimes, it's just understanding the media. I'm going to come up here to his eye, and I'm going to paint in just everything with just my blue. Just pure phthalo blue. Layer 1. Now I'm going to put my vision enhancers on, because in spite of the fact that they're very splattery, they still help me see. I'm going to load up some black into my paint. See how I'm doing this? I take my brush, I dip in. So a lot of times with heavy body paint, if you have a heavy body paint, pro paint especially, you have to modify the paint to change the viscosity of how it's going to brush out. So sometimes you want it thick, and for impasto effects or dry brushing effects, but sometimes you want it more fluid so it'll flow off your brush. Rather than buying fluid paints and heavy body paints, you just modify what you have to be one of those. There we go. Coming in here and just making sure this is all good. I can always come in here and make sure I've got a nice little pupil. A lot of people think tigers have cat's eye pupils. They do not. They're a round pupil. It's a good time to hit this with a hairdryer.
There we go. She's just drying that off. I really like her eyes. Cinnamon does really good eyes on stuff. I was just saying I like watching you do the eyes on.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I love. I love me some eyes. So I'm going to take some of my white and blue, right? And I'm mixing a lighter color And under here, I'm going to paint this lighter blue. Not the top, though, because there's a shadow there. And give me a second. I got to grab a towel.
Okay.
That I dropped. I'm going to get a little more of my pure blue. And I'm going to come through and sort of blend these two little spots together, keeping this quite dark at the top. You can even come through and just very carefully go around the outer edge. Now I'm in my blue and white. Add a lot more white to it. We're going to add some nice centered highlight. And see, I'm just sort of tapping my brush up and down.
Yeah.
It's giving me a nice soft edge. Look at that. Tap, 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 tap. Lots of ways to blend acrylic paint. And this sort of dabbing motion is one of the ways that you can do that. All right. I can come in with just one more lighter value right here in the center. Look at that. This is the part that actually really significantly lowers your blood pressure.
Mm.
You got a little green fleck in there, so I'm going to pull that out. Not really sure where that came from. Now, once that's done, I'm going to use, and in this particular case, I'm going to get clean water because I don't want the pigment in this water to impact the next part of what I'm going to do, because this is like the last little touch. I'm going to take my brush dipped in water like you're familiar with. I'm going to come over and pull a little white out, and I'm going to thin it. See, I'm going dip, and I'm thinning, and then I roll. It just improves how this flows off my brush. Once I have that all worked out, I'm going to wipe this out so it's strong of a point as I can get. You can see me swirling that around there. I've got it right on the tip. I'm going to come here and make a little line. I'm going to come between the eye and the black, and I make a small line and a dot and another little small line. There we go. Some more white. And come right here. Get a little reflection going. It is super fun. And then right here at the nose.
Hold on, let me get down there to the nose.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to come here and add another little reflection. There we go. And then I'm going to come over here. Corner, I'm just going to sign.
Oh,
you can just zoom out.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and give my signature.
I just hate to miss you.
On signing your painting, you can or you don't have to. There's no rule around this, but I would say always think about how what you're doing affects the final composition. Whether you're new to painting or experienced to painting, your artwork is intrinsically valid. Seriously, it really is. And it's okay for you to think about things like, how does this affect my painting? Do I like how this reflects on me? Those are valid questions for you to ask, no matter where you are in your art journey. All right, let's do our, oh, it's so pretty. All right, let's do our goodbye. Isn't it amazing how easy painting can actually be?
Mm-hmm.
We can, yeah, right?
Yeah.
We can be doing like complicated techniques. We can be working on concepts that are maybe a little more high art, but yet are super beginner friendly. Never feel intimidated by painting. Remember to be kind about your own artwork, especially if you're new. Don't you wouldn't just say, oh, I can just jump out of a plane. I've never tried it before, but I don't need to practice or anything. I'm sure it'll work out on the way down, right? You recognize that there's some steps, there's some training. You wouldn't just ride a bike if you didn't ride a bike. There are a lot of things where you would definitely practice to learn it. So give yourself some space to learn it and pay attention to all the things that you did much better than you expected and really well. Remember to be easy with yourself. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wrong button.